Devon Achane, running back 7. What are we doing now? He is a backup on his own team. I know he had the 51-point game that caught us all by storm. And, he did dirt against the Broncos, 3 straight, 50, 20, 20. Like, I get it. But let's not forget, this is an injury-prone running back. He's small. Dude is small, tiny. He was hurt before the season started, got hurt again in week 5, re-injured himself later in the year. He was injured 3 times last year. The team drafted Jalen Wright, so now there's additional competition in the backfield, and he's asking to get more involved in the passing game, so we just expecting him to become a better running back all of a sudden? It's not like this guy is just going to be 70-point runs and 70-point catches every single week. That's not how football works. But after week 13 last season, Devon Achane averaged 14.6 fantasy points. Oh, what happened to all that fantasy points per game? He's over 20 fantasy points per game, top 3 fantasy points per game. This is a guy now you think should be going in the second round as the RB7? This is a guy you think can carry your fantasy team as your RB1? But he was hurt last year twice, right? To start the season, he was a little banged up, and then he got injured in the middle of the year as well. He's already hurt this offseason. And Sean McVay's already come out and said, look, we got to get less touches to Kyren this year. We got to take care of him. The team drafted 3rd-round pick Blake Corum, who is going to be a tank right there behind him. So they're looking to reduce Kyren Williams' workload. And we know how Sean McVay is. He's not a guy that likes to really run a committee. He likes to run one guy. And all the hype this offseason has been about how Blake Corum looks good. Kyren's got to get to training camp. And we're drafting a guy who's kind of smaller, a little bit injury prone, had a great season. Reduced workload. We're drafting this guy now as a RB8. Kyren has earned his draft spot, but there's so many question marks that I'm fading him in a late round guy that gets an opportunity and then just kills it. We don't see this very often, and we don't see it last very long typically. Now, if he does it on somebody else's fantasy team, congratulations, man. You won. You killed it. You got him at a good draft spot. But I'm not taking Kyren Williams as the RB8 with all them question marks and a guy that's lurking behind him that could probably vulture a lot of touchdowns as well. There's so many other concerns with Kyren. I got to take a pass this year. Coming off of a torn ACL, we're taking this guy as a starting running back, going to a bad offense in Carolina. This team has a lot to show that they can even move the ball downfield and score touchdowns. One of the worst team in football last year. Chuba Hubbard was the leading back last year. The team already said they believe in him. Maybe his ACL is feeling better about 8 to 10 weeks in, and they let him become the starter in week 12, 13. That sounds about right for Jonathan Brooks. Slower load to start the season and then finish off strong. But to take that guy at RB26 means you believe he could be a flex option for you right now. He's got to be ready for training camp. All indications are that he should, but coming off of an ACL, who knows if that's the case? He's still got to earn his role as a number 2 back. Coaches are going to make him do that. I think he will earn that role. How will he produce? Then he's got to overtake Chuba Hubbard in order for this RB26 draft spot to be worth it. So at RB26, there's a ton of other really nice running backs that are going around that range. I think you could do much better and get a little bit more upside than Jonathan Brooks, who you're taking right now as kind of a leap of faith. He's going to be ready for the second half of the year when you need him most. He's the RB18 right now. And last year he had a really good season, caught a lot of us off guard, finishes the RB17. Had a really nice start to the season, man. Like at the beginning of the season, he was averaging 20 fantasy points a game for the first 5 weeks. And then he got hurt. And what happened? This team drafted Jahmyr Gibbs early last year. They wanted to use him, and they were holding him back to start the season, made him earn his role. By the time David Montgomery got healthy and came back, Jahmyr Gibbs had already emerged. After Jahmyr Gibbs earned that workload, we rarely saw David Montgomery play more than 50% of the snaps. During that time, he averaged 13.6 fantasy points and was very, very touchdown dependent. We're taking this guy now at the RB18, which maybe in hindsight, he should have went there last year. But now that Jahmyr Gibbs is expected to take a bigger role in this offense, expected to be a bigger part of this offense, now we have to acknowledge, all right, David Montgomery, you're the backup running back now. Unfortunately, I think David Montgomery we're thinking of is the David Montgomery from early in the season and not the player we saw towards the end when Jahmyr Gibbs took over the starting role. Be careful with drafting David Montgomery. That's a player I'm fading at his current ADP of RB18.